What's up everybody, it's Hegy, and this is the modified LA Ranger. This time we're Voltaxic, and there hasn't been too many changes on the skill tree. Mainly we had to spec out of Spirit Void because we don't really utilize the physical mana leech, but we do get the 2 mana gain on hit from Spirit Void, so we ended up transferring that into a jewel, and as you can see this jewel is 5% attack speed, 6% attack speed, fire damage is not ideal, and 2 mana gain on hit. After we met the stat requirement with Beef, Wisdom of the Glade, and Thief's Craft, we were able to drop the jewel that had stats, and in exchange we got 16 lightning damage, 4 attack speed, 8 attack speed, and 11 proj speed, which all scale with chaos damage. So the tree relatively looks pretty much the same, minus picking up stat nodes, this jewel, and the biggest change is the gear. So I'm running a 5-link Heres Ire, still very tanky with this, and a 5-link Voltaxic Rift. The Voltaxic Rift is lined up with Barrage instead of Puncture, and this is for single target damage because I'm just rapid firing that lightning chaos conversion damage, and then we have faster attacks, crit damage, weapon elemental, and slower projectiles. Since Barrage fires off at a pretty fast rate, slower Proj doesn't really affect it that much, and it doesn't feel any different. For Lightning Arrow, we have greater multiple projectiles, weapon elemental damage, life gain on hit, and crit damage. The quality on Lightning Arrow has been changed. Instead of shock duration, it's actually shock chance. But it's kind of redundant, and I don't really feel the need to get it. I crit often enough, and I'm always applying that shock. Moving along to the gloves, you notice it's 4 blue now, which is very easy to craft an armor energy shield piece. But we have Wrath instead of Hatred, and now we have Assassin's Mark, Curse on Hit, and Herald of Thunder. Herald of Thunder replaced Herald of Ash, and I have noticed somewhat of a small drop off in certain situations where Herald of Ash, the prolif, would help the AoE. But Herald of Thunder does a lot of work because it has 15% global increased lightning damage. That happens on the bolt, turns it into chaos damage. That enhances my lightning arrow and my lightning damage overall. So it's still very strong. The tooltip is much higher than it was before. We're sitting around a 29.5k GMP on lightning arrow and a 20.9k barrage. Keep in mind, these are both 5-linked, and my previous physical lightning arrow was 6-linked, 5-linked. And to keep my character versatile, I retained the puncture, but I put it on an off swap. So I have a different bow, which is my old bow, and I have a different quiver, which I didn't need the resist on. So I have slower proj, physical proj damage, additional accuracy, curling strike, increased crit damage, and puncture. And this is a really nice option, and it's just a way to put offensive pressure while still being mobile or addressing other parts of combat. Val Grace is used as an on-demand cooldown with increased duration, Rallying Cry, and at the moment I have Blood Magic, but you could put Decoy Totem, you could put Assassin's Mark or Vulnerability for Manual Curse, or for whatever you would like. But the gear is relatively the same. You could min-max a little bit further and go for like Malagaros and getting a leather belt so you can make up for the HP loss from Malagaros. And the jewelry can go more wed and flat lightning damage. This amulet can go more crit multiplier, wed, and flat lightning. And this quiver can get more mods. So you can see that, we're not quite there for milking the full potential of the Voltaxic build. So people ask me all the time, why even use Voltaxic? Well, the number one reason is that you can do reflection maps with no problems. Minus max, vulnerability, Fizz Reflect, Ellie Reflect, it doesn't matter. It's pretty much just face roll. Thorn Flesh, it's out the water, and it'll take care of that. So if you are a person that gets complacent from time to time and makes mistakes and can't analyze perfectly all the time and stay focused for many hours while you're farming, this would be a good choice for you. Chaos damage can't be reflected, and it also has other interesting mechanics. it does damage to life before it does energy shield. So this allows you to do damage underneath a discipline aura, or kill stuff that's at low life with huge energy shields like Igna Phoenix or the General. Also, map mods that don't affect Voltaxic, that would affect a regular Lightning Arrow Ranger, are the mods Equilibrium, Elemental Equilibrium, and Lightning Resistance. So that's a cool negative feature on map mods that is essentially negated by going Voltaxic. So there are more than one reasons to do this. Main thing is with the reflection, but the other cool benefits are just an added bonus, and it's definitely a worthy contender in hardcore leagues. The defenses are still the same. Taste of Hate, Sapphire Flask, that's for the physical damage mitigation. We actually lose a lot of damage from the physical damage added as extra cold damage. And now people ask me, why go Voltaxic when you can just go Fizzbow? And the answer is, since all my damage is converted to Chaos, I'm reflect free. I do a minuscule amount of physical damage on the Tooltip. It's not that bad. It's 88 to 214 unbuffed. But there are a lot of advantages of running just Chaos damage. People say that you can't scale Chaos damage, and frankly that's not true. You can find many multipliers in the current state of the game that will do so. You have multipliers like Wed, crit damage, slower Proj, and then you can scale it with like attack speed, faster attacks, and you can use a curse like Assassin's Mark. All in all, it's great stuff. The build is very powerful, and with the current state of mapping and Thornflesh and reflection damage, I think Voltaxic will be quite a popular build in hardcore leagues at the very least. And speaking of hardcore leagues, I guess it's worth talking about our defenses. And in this case, we have GMP, Arctic Breath, Cast and Damage Taken. I foresee this being a very popular setup as it slows the enemies down reactively, or whenever you hit your Dodri's Elixir, which inflicts damage to you as Chaos, and it does 20% of your maximum energy shield on use. So it's very synergistic. We have Taste of Hate for the physical damage reduction, and then we have 58% dodge, 58% spell dodge, 86, 55 evasion. We have some armor right now that gets reduced by acrobatics, and it's mainly because of this helmet. This helmet should be an evasion based helm, but I didn't get a chance to get one. Replacing this with the 600 evasion helm and call it GG. Right now we're sitting at a 43% chance to evade. We got all of our resistances. We're really lacking on the Chaos Res, but that could be fixed over time with some better rares. And on my bow, we have a single link temp change. This is for self-casting, for whenever I feel like I need to slow down a boss or a mob, and my curse on hit is not active and putting on Assassin's Mark. This is a good opportunity. I could put vulnerability on this to aid with the puncture. It's all situational and preferential, but another thing that's worth mentioning is the Hiri's Ire has 13 to 24 cold damage. This allows me to shatter mobs, which also allows me to not get hit by porcupines that explode. It also prevents them from being rezzed or detonated. So that's another defensive layer that isn't really seen. And another thing is King of the Hill. That's something else that's not really talked about, but it is a huge defensive layer because it keeps those sketchy auraed mobs away from you. You know, preventing charges, preventing that volatile explosion, keeping that gap distance, you know, wider, and you know, preventing you from having to kite. So it's also a huge DPS boost. If you guys enjoyed this guide, feel free to hit the like and subscribe and share this video. And I would like to say I have been working on some projects with Wabachaw. We've been doing some really interesting podcasts, and as always, thank you guys for watching.